Good morning. How are you? I want us to begin today to discuss our lecture today. This is our introductory lecture on antimicrobial. I am talking to trauma and orthopedic students, and I believe this will be a very nice introduction to all of us. What I want us to talk now is very simple. Let us start. The term antimicrobial, antibiotic, and anti-infective encompasses a wide variety of pharmaceutical agents that includes antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, and antiparasitic. So when you look at those are specific different drugs that are going to work on different microorganisms. If you remember what we learned in the introduction to microorganisms, is you need to remember that we talked about classification of various type of organisms. So when you're talking about classification of various type of organisms, then you need to know that different organisms requires different antimicrobial agent. So antimicrobial is any substance, and antimicrobial is any substance of natural, semi-synthetic, or synthetic origin that kills or inhibits the growth of microorganisms, but causes little or no damage to the host. And that is a fact because most of us, and all the time, at times we use antimicrobials. If they will be harming us, then most of us could be very sick or could be not be alive. So antibiotic, on the other hand, refers to substances produced by microorganisms that act against another microorganisms. The examples of such is like the penicillin. A few antimicrobial have useful activity across several of these groups, e.g. metronidazole. So metronidazole works across. So antimicrobial can be bacteriostatic, that is arrest bacterial multiplication, or bactericidal, that is killing. So let's look at microbial infections. We have viruses, and remember viruses are intracellular pathogens. And if there are intracellular pathogens, then a fact remains that these pathogens are inside the cell. So that comes with its own challenge. Let us remember that if you look at the replicative cycle of the viruses, most of the time and all the time, the viruses ends up replicating inside the cell. Fungi are a major cause of opportunistic infection, and you find that most people who have fungal infection tend to have low immunity. Protozoa example is malaria, which so far has had issues with drug resistance. Remember, we started with quinine, now we are using artemether. So that means that malaria has continuously been a challenge and changing its own antigenic properties and evading the use of the locally available antiprotozoa. Helminthic infections, when looking at helminthic infection, the drug that are most of the time drugs are very effective against helminthic infection. So that is very important for us to know. So let's look at site of action of antimicrobial. They may act on the cell wall. They may act on the cytoplasmic membrane of the microorganism, the cell wall of the microorganism. They might hinder protein synthesis mechanism. They might hinder nucleic acid metabolism. And another one they might hinder certain enzymes from facilitating for example, the virus to enter a host cell, and that one is very important. So when you're looking at viruses, the action of antimicrobials attack probably one of the replicative stages. Maybe it might hinder entry of the virus, replication of the virus. Certain enzymes are hindered as well. So the other fifth thing here should be the enzyme inhibition. So that is how antimicrobials can work. So what is antimicrobial prophylaxis? Antimicrobial agents are sometimes given to people who do not have an infection, but who are considered to be at risk from a specific organism. For example, use of rifampicin or ciprofloxacin in close contact of patients with meningococcal meningitis, penicillin administration before and following dental procedure in people at risk of endocarditis, and perioperative prophylaxis in certain types of surgery where risk of infection is high, e.g. colorectal surgery and open heart surgery. And you also know that you can take antiviral prophylaxis such as PrEP for purposes of preventing yourself against getting HIV virus. So that one is very clear for all of us, and that marks the end of a brief discussion of my presentation for this introduction of antimicrobial. Any question? I think you can have direct it through MLIM, and you have any challenge of understanding what I've just said, we can interact on MLIM and discuss even more and help you to understand. I'm uploading more lectures, so keep visiting your MLIM and keep on looking at your WhatsApp group. I'll be putting more so that we'll be able to discuss. Have a nice day. Bye.